In the small, fog-laden town of Eldritch Hollow, whispers of the past clung to the air like the constant mist that rolled in from the ocean. The townsfolk were a superstitious lot, each home containing stories of lost loves, abandoned dreams, and eerie phenomena that no one dared to explore. But at the heart of these tales was a particularly menacing legend, the curse on the phantom tape. It was said that whoever stumbled upon the tape would be consumed by horror and despair, spiraling into an abyss of madness. Yet the allure of the unknown drew in thrill-seekers and curiosity-driven locals, despite the grim warnings etched into the very foundations of Eldritch Hollow. Amid this backdrop lived a young filmmaker named Sarah Collins. With a passion for capturing stories, both real and imagined, she was undeterred by the chilling legends that surrounded her. When she heard of the infamous phantom tape, she felt an insatiable urge to uncover the truth. She believed that every urban legend had its roots in reality, and she was resolved to find out whether the tape was simply a ghost story concocted by the townsfolk or something far more sinister. One drizzly Thursday afternoon, Sarah visited the local library, sifting through dusty archives and weathered journals. Her fingers brushed against a crumbling ledger, yellowed with time, that spoke of a fateful night in 1984, when a group of teens discovered the tape during an innocent excursion into the woods. Contrary to their expectations of a harmless prank, the tape proved to be anything but innocent. As she pored over the tales, Sarah's heart raced. The accounts spoke of unexplainable phenomena, friends disappearing, strange shadows flickering near their homes, anguished cries echoing in the dead of night. Those who listened to the tape claimed to witness horrifying visions that twisted their very perception of reality. Each line she read convinced her more, this was not merely a ghost story, it was a warning. Determined to piece together the legend, Sarah secured a small, worn-down camera and planned to venture into the woods where the phantom tape was said to have been found. As soon as she announced her intention to her friends, however, a heavy pall fell over the small group. "Sarah, you can't be serious," her best friend, Jordan, urged, arms crossed defiantly. "That thing is dangerous. Are you really going to let fear dictate your life?" Sarah shot back, her voice trembling with excitement and irritation. This could be the documentary that gets us noticed. But no amount of persuasion could sway Jordan's resolve. With hushed voices, her friends warned her of the old tales. The last group who went after that tape vanished without a trace. "It's cursed, Sarah. You'll only be inviting darkness into your life." Still, Sarah felt drawn to the enigmatic legend, the thrill of discovering the unknown overpowering her friends' fears. After much debate, one friend, Becky, reluctantly agreed to accompany Sarah, intrigued and terrified in equal measure. Together, they crafted a plan to brave the woods at dusk, armed with flashlights, snacks, and the unyielding spirit of discovering the truth. As twilight descended upon Eldritch Hollow, Sarah and Becky trekked through the dense forest that bordered the town. Shadows danced among the trees, elongating in terrible, ghostly shapes. Eerie silence blanketed the atmosphere, broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath their feet and distant hoots of owls. Hours felt like mere minutes, and soon a sense of trepidation pressed in against them. A chilling breeze whispered through the branches, sending shivers down their spines. Just when the suffocating quiet threatened to swallow them whole, Sarah spotted it, a tattered, yellowing piece of paper pinned to a tree. "Look," she exclaimed, rushing over to inspect it. The page was an ancient flyer, crumbled and faded, boasting of a concert held decades ago in Eldritch Hollow. But further down, scrawled in frantic handwriting, were words that chilled them both. "The phantom tape lies in wait. Dare you unravel its fate? Are you sure we should be here?" Becky whispered, fear gnawing at her nerves. "This is it," Sarah said, her heart racing. "We're getting closer." They pressed on, finally reaching a clearing that felt heavier than the surrounding woods. It was a familiar place, the very site where the tape had been discovered years before. The ground bore remnants of past fires, and broken bottles glinted in the overcast light, as though the spirits of the lost still lingered. Without hesitation, Sarah switched on her flashlight, scanning the area for any signs of the legendary tape. Then, through the underbrush, a glimmer caught her eye. "It's here," she shouted, rushing over to retrieve a small, round object half buried in the ground. It was an old cassette tape, wrapped in fraying black tape, as though begging to be uncovered. Its surface was scratched and marred, but beneath the grime lay an unmistakable aura of foreboding. With excitement fluttering in her chest, Sarah headed back to town, determined to unveil the content of the phantom tape that night. They gathered in her dimly lit basement, the walls draped in colorful fabric, a makeshift screening room. Lights dimmed, Sarah inserted the tape into her vintage player. The room thumped with tension as the whir of the tape echoed eerily. Static crackled, and then, to their horror, a distorted voice seeped through the speakers, a cacophony of laughter and screams intertwined, punctuated by unearthly whispers that sent chills down their spines. What is this?" Becky gasped, pulling a blanket over herself as though it could protect her from the havoc unraveling in their hearts. The whispers quickened, creating an unbearable tension that gripped the two friends. Suddenly, the laughter escalated, morphing into something sinister, and just then, a shadow flitted past the basement window. Sarah's heart raced. She couldn't tell if it was real or a concoction of her horrified mind. She glanced at Becky, who still stared wide-eyed at the speaker, frozen in disbelief. The shadows clawed at their sanity, creeping ever closer. "Maybe we should stop," Becky stammered, her voice barely audible over the cacophony. "This isn't right, it feels wrong." "Just a little longer," Sarah insisted, unable to resist the pull of the mysterious sound. But as she leaned in closer, the shadows grew thick and oppressive, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. "Turn it off!" Becky screamed, and Sarah snapped back to reality, her finger fumbling with the player until the sound finally ceased. The silence was as deafening as the noise had been. The next few days were tumultuous. Sarah found herself plagued by nightmares, twisted versions of reality that danced at the corners of her mind. Figures in shadows whispered her name, beckoning her into their murky depths. Even Becky, who had always been the grounded one, began to feel the weight of the phantom that haunted them. "Did we bring something back?" Becky asked one evening as they sat in Sarah's living room, darkness pooling around them like ink. "These dreams, something isn't right. Maybe we should talk to someone," Sarah suggested, tracing her fingers nervously over the surface of her coffee table. But just as she uttered the words, their chilling stillness was pierced by light, a flickering glow in the corners of the room. A shadow danced along the far wall, too quick to discern but unmistakably there. "It's just your imagination," Sarah tried to reassure herself, willing it to fade along with her anxieties. "We need to focus on the documentary." Days turned into weeks, but the nightmares grew worse, each night unveiling new horrors that plagued Sarah beyond sleep. Desperate for answers, she turned to the very archives she had scoured days before. There had to be more behind the phantom tape, more than whispered tales of madness. The following evening, Sarah decided to visit the library's archivist, a frail old man named Mr. Weller. He had dedicated his life to preserving Eldritch Hollow's history and understood its legends more than anyone else. "Mr. Weller," Sarah began, her voice trembling slightly, "can you help me understand the story behind the phantom tape? I want to know what happened after the kids found it." He paused, the glint of curiosity flickering in his tired eyes. "Many have come seeking the truth, but few live to tell the tale. What you seek, girl, is dangerous. No, I need to know." Sarah pleaded, determined but fearful. Weller led her to a shadowy corner of the library, unlocking an old wooden cabinet filled with yellowed newspaper clippings. "The tape is a conduit," he explained in a hushed voice. "It draws on the fears of those who listen. What haunts it perpetuates, every time it's played, it feeds on the terror, releasing the horrors that were trapped within." Tremors of unimaginable dread crawled up Sarah's spine. So, the stories are real? Weller nodded gravely. Many have tried to destroy the tape, but it always finds a way back. It craves users. It doesn't just haunt, it entraps. As the days progressed, the darkness surrounding Sarah deepened. Her friends began to notice, her increasingly erratic behavior sending tremors through their once tight group. The shadows followed her, creeping into every interaction, every unguarded moment, while the fragmented whispers echoed in her mind. A week later, unable to confide in anyone, Sarah spiraled deeper into obsession. She re-listened to the tape, desperately grasping for answers. Each listen twisted her perception further, shadows danced in the corner of her vision, muttering her name. Then one fateful night, after yet another tormenting dream, Sarah woke in a cold sweat. Covered in shadows that seemed to pulse against her skin, she gasped in horror as phantoms materialized. With ashen faces and hollow eyes, they hovered around her, beckoning her into their spectral realm. "Join us, Sarah," they whispered, a chorus of haunting voices enticing her with promises of knowledge, of understanding the limitless horrors concealed within. "All you need to do is listen, truly listen." Crawling out of the depths of her fear, Sarah lunged for her camera, aiming it into the darkness. "Get away from me," she screamed, capturing the ghastly visions that surrounded her. But the phantoms only laughed, darkness consuming the light. It was then she realized, the curse wasn't just on the tape, it was hungry for her reality. Sarah's desperation peaked as her world disintegrated into fragmented terror. Night after night, the phantoms returned, whispering secrets and tales of lost souls consumed by the curse. She recorded everything, from frantic breaths to incoherent whispers, convinced that weaving these fragments together would unveil the truth she so desperately sought. Finally, she confronted Mr. Weller, desperate for a solution. "How do I get rid of it?" she pressed, her voice hoarse with fear. "It has to be returned," he muttered, eyes cloudy with knowledge that weighed heavily on his heart. "You must go back to the woods, leave it there, and never return. The tape feeds on you, it won't let you go willingly." Heart pounding, Sarah stumbled out of the library, her mind racing with uncertainty. How could she possibly return to that cursed ground? But the phantoms intensified, pulling at her consciousness, threatening to drain her spirit entirely. That evening, clutching the tape like a talisman, she found herself standing at the edge of the woods. The air was sharp and bitter, the trees towering ominously above. Fear gripped her heart, yet she pressed forward, deeper into the trees as phantoms whispered around her, urging her to turn back. "Leave it," they hissed, a malevolent chorus echoing through her mind. "You'll be one of us soon." But Sarah pressed on until she reached the very clearing where she had unearthed the tape. With each step, darkness threatened to engulf her, but she fought against it, her determination strong. Then, with trembling hands, she placed the tape in the ground, whispering words of release, of letting go. Suddenly, a surge of surrounding shadows erupted, shadows twisting and merging into grotesque forms. "You can't escape us," they thundered, clawing at her as she stumbled backward. Her heart raced as the forest itself seemed to come alive, branches reaching for her. In pure panic, she launched herself away from the clearing, tears streaming down her face, rushing through the woods until she reached the edge where a glimmer of moonlight awaited. And just like that, all was still. The oppressive weight lifted, shadows receding into the night. The sun rose over Eldritch Hollow, the morning light wisping away the remnants of fear. Sarah awoke in her own bed, memories shrouded in fog. She didn't remember how she had made it home, or what had happened in the woods, only fragments of despair and shadows lingering in the corners of her mind. For the first time in months, she felt free. But freedom came at a cost. The tape was gone, but scars remained. Her friends soon discovered the change in Sarah. The girl they once knew had transformed, shadows of her past still haunting her glances. But beneath the surface, she felt a strength growing, a fire ignited by survival, and a story waiting to unfold. In the weeks that followed, as Sarah pieced her life back together, she began crafting her documentary. It was a chronicle of their experiences, a reclaiming of the lost narratives. Driven by newfound purpose, she turned the darkness into light, weaving together the threads of terror, hope, and resilience that flowed through her heart. The phantom tape, though tantalizingly witnessed, faded into obscurity, a haunting reminder of the shadows that danced along the edges of reality. But the challenge had emerged triumphant. Sarah was no longer just a storyteller. She became a beacon against the haunting, a symbol of light for those who dared to tread into the unknown. But the town of Eldritch Hollow, whispered accounts of the phantom tape lingering in the air, was far from forgotten. Shadows would always remain, waiting patiently, for the next tale to be spun, for the next curious soul to seek and unwittingly invite its dark curse. Months passed, and Sarah prepared her documentary for a local viewing, her heart thrumming with excitement tinged with trepidation. She was ready to remind everybody of the legends but was genuinely fearful of awakening the curse that had once gripped her soul. That night, as the townsfolk gathered, expectant whispers rippled through the auditorium. But as the first haunting images flickered to life on the screen, a strange spark ignited, a shimmer of connection that wrapped around each person. The spellbinding tales of the past captivated them, weaving together the threads of their shared fears. However, amidst their movements of joy and terror, among the gasps of realization of what had been lost, the lights flickered violently. A cold breeze drifted through the room, slithering along their skin. The focal point of the evening, Sarah's documentary, was proving to unearth something more profound. The whispers grew louder, suffocating laughter ripped through the heavy silence, as shadows sprouted from behind the screen. A lamp shattered, casting shards into darkness as the specter of the phantom tape once again made its presence known, seeking the thrill of unsuspecting souls who dared breathe life into a cursed story once more. The cycle had begun anew, only this time, the shadows weren't just reflections in darkness. They were a reminder that reality is never as clear as it seems, and every legend has the power to lurk just below the surface, waiting for the moment to unveil its true horror. If you enjoyed this tale of the curse on the phantom tape and want to immerse yourself in more captivating stories, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. By subscribing, you'll not only support our storytelling journey but also stay updated on our latest narratives, eerie legends, and thrilling adventures. Join a community of fellow story lovers who share a passion for the mysterious and the unknown. Hit the notification bell to never miss an update. Let us know in the comments what stories haunt your dreams or what legends you'd like us to explore next. Your voice matters, and together we can weave a tapestry of unforgettable tales. Thank you for being a part of our storytelling family.